Yeah. Right. Well, it is that time. It is that time. We are live. And a dark day in the United States, considering all that's going on in the news, all that has transpired over the last 48 hours. Not only have we had an assassination, but we've had, I think, one or two school shootings, at least two since the last time we were on air. Um, One of those being yesterday, which has not gotten as much coverage because of everything else going on. Um, but we want to invite our listeners and viewers to give us your thoughts, tell us what's on your mind. You can even jump on the show live if you want to, um, and tell us what you think about what's going on. What are you thinking? Are you sending thoughts and prayers or no? Um, what do you think about the rise in political violence in the United States, especially since the first and second election of Donald Trump, which there has been a um, measurable increase in political violence since Donald Trump was elected in 2017 and now again in 2024. And can we blame that on Donald Trump? Not necessarily, but we could certainly see in the data, absent from anyone's opinions or ideology, the data says there has been a spike in political violence since 2017 and again now since 2024. That's just the data, folks. So what do we make of that? What do we say about that? Anyhow, what's up, Dillon and Cruz? We are back here with the God Squad Live. What do you got to say about what's going on in the earth today?
Well, I spent a lot of time thinking about this, writing about this, and discussing this today. And late in the afternoon, I realized that what I was feeling was incredibly similar to what I felt on January 6, 2021. As I watched the insurrection unfold that the MAGAverse still pretends didn't happen. And it's not because I was a fan of Charlie Kirk. I repudiate everything he stood for. It was because of the implications of what this means.
Mm-hmm.
And we're already seeing, Donald Trump blamed this on a leftist. The shooter has not been found. We have no idea what the motivation or ideology was. As somebody who has shot at targets from 200 yards away, that is not something that you can just do. You have to be trained to do that. So what we know is that a person with murderous intent seems to have been highly skilled at long distance shooting and committed the murder of somebody who, by his own choosing, chose to be awful. And we have to tell the truth about the kinds of things that Charlie Kirk stood for, just like we have to tell the truth about systemic racism. Just the way that South Africa had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to deal with apartheid. We haven't done that here, and that's why we have things like this. Just like the people in Germany said, no, Nazi speech is no longer protected.
No, it's a
Yep.
crime.
A few weeks ago, during a football match at Anfield in Liverpool, between Liverpool and Bournemouth, and trust me, there's a connection. I'll get there. A Liverpool supporter started yelling racist slurs at Antoine Semenyo, an African-born player who played for Bournemouth. In the United Kingdom, that is a crime. It is a hate crime, and the man was duly and appropriately arrested. Charlie Kirk, I don't think would have been able to get away with some of the things, many of the things that he was saying about people, particularly people of color, in Europe, in certain parts of Europe, where they don't allow you to deny the Holocaust, for example. I remember when I was taking a course on the social history of Europe in the 19th century. At that time, some Holocaust denying guy who wrote a book proving, quote unquote, that the Holocaust wasn't real, tried to go to Austria. And they arrested him as soon as he got there. Because Holocaust denial is illegal in Austria. Why? Because Austrian Jews were killed. So I don't have any, as we talked about last night, I get no joy out of the fact that Charlie Kirk was murdered. I get no joy out of that whatsoever. I do not have any, I'm not going to try to tell people how they should process that, but I personally don't think murder should be celebrated. And at the same time, we have to protect the marginalized communities that he targeted and scapegoated, because HBCUs have already been targeted today, in the aftermath of the shooting. Racists started doing their white supremacist bullshit.
And see, they want to make the left or minorities the boogeyman of this, but statistically, I'd be willing to bet the rest of my paychecks for the rest of this year that this is a white male Republican. Just the statistics. If it's something else, I'll be shocked. Because that's just what it's been. And that's not me being, a left-wing radical. That's the data. No. Yeah. I've asked the internet to pull me together some information about political shootings since 2017. And the data is that it's overwhelmingly white, male, Republican. Overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
So if I was going to bet money on who this person is going to be, my bet is on a white male Republican. Now, it could be surprised. It could be a white male Democrat. Either way, it's probably a white male. But
the pictures that they're showing of the person of interest is a white, seemingly white male person. I was watching.
Surprised by that, but what's surprising is Fox News, Trump, and whoever the hell else already trying to skew and tilt this toward the liberals, toward whoever. No one knows who the fuck did this. So what is the point of that? And they didn't have, there wasn't nearly this kind of uproar when this senator and her husband, or was it the senator and his wife, whatever the case, this couple, Democrats, were shot just a couple months ago, assassinated.
Right. And it was a senator and her husband. Yeah.
Senator and her husband. Where was all of this? We're going to get vengeance and this and that. And he didn't give them posthumous presidential medals.
Right. Well, I was watching Democracy Now! Today and some of the little bit of stuff that I looked at on the media today. And Amy Goodman and her co-host, whose name I am not going to remember, but they were interviewing Jeff Sharlet. And Jeff
Mhm.
Sharlet is a journalist and a professor at Dartmouth College. He wrote a book called The Family, and there's a documentary on Netflix about The Family. It's a kind of a shadowy Christian nationalist organization and whatnot. And he was talking about Charlie Kirk and some of the things he said, and he said we cannot whitewash this man's legacy. But during that report, they talked about the National Institutes of Justice, who in January of 2024 released a study backing up what you were saying, and it says in the first paragraph of this study on their website, militant, nationalistic, white supremacist, violent extremism has increased in the United States. In fact, the number of far-right attacks continues to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic violence extremism. Since 1990, far-right extremists have committed far more ideologically motivated homicide than far-left or radical Islamist extremists, including 227 events that took more than 520 lives. In the same period, far-left extremists committed 42 ideologically motivated attacks that took 78 lives. So we're talking about a factor of 8 or 9 times the amount of far-right extremist violence. And the pearl clutching on the right, Stuart Rhodes, remember him? The one-eyed guy who was the Oath Keepers and all that. He was from the same county that I grew up in Texas. He had the temerity to say that the left is trying to engage in insurrection.
What?
Yesterday.
Based on what? Based on what? Where's the insurrection?
Based on the murder of Charlie Kirk. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Multiple people died. Multiple people have PTSD. Multiple people were severely injured in the January 6th insurrection. And the only reason Stuart Rhodes can make those comments is because he got pardoned by the guy that he was committing an insurrection for.
And how dare he even open his mouth to let the word insurrection come out of it?
Exactly.
He was involved in planning and executing an insurrection, so he knows what one looks like. This lone white right-wing activist getting shot by only the Lord knows who right now is not an insurrection. Charlie Kirk is not the government. Charlie Kirk is not the Senate or the Congress. Charlie Kirk is not a representative of any state government, county, state, national, on any level. He is an activist / a social media influencer.
Right. And he chose power.
And if it wasn't an insurrection when the senator and his wife was shot last month and the other senator and his wife was wounded, why is that wasn't an insurrection, but this is an insurrection? This is an insurrection. That wasn't. A senator and his wife executed another senator and his wife wounded with intent to execute. But that wasn't an insurrection, but this is. These people will get on my fucking nerves. Fox News and all of them. This man, I didn't like anything about him. He was a fucking prick. And him getting shot doesn't change that. He was a racist, misogynistic, xenophobic asshole, period. And I don't owe him anything to clean up that truth in his death. Does that mean I think that he should die by assassination? Hell no. I don't think anybody should die that way. But what I'm not going to do is make him into something he's not just because of how he died.
Right.
It is what it is.
Memorialize him.
He was a racist, period, through and through. He was a misogynist, through and through. He was a xenophobe, through and through. He was a homophobe, through and through. Every ism, schism, he was. And that is what he perpetuated to the public and especially to young minds. He was the white red pill incel fever dream.
Yeah.
Every white, lonely ass Republican, unpopular male in his mother's basement, that was his hero.
Yeah. And Jeff Charlotte said, if during that interview on Democracy Now, he said, look, I've been writing about this for 20 years, right-wing extremism, Christian nationalism, all that kind of stuff. White supremacist extremism, etc. And he said we should not be mocking and we should not be celebrating. And he said that a lot of people pushed back and said, what more can fascists do? And he goes, trust me, I've written about this for 20 years. They could do a lot more than they've already done.
And I don't know why.
I don't think it's helpful to mock this situation.
We had some crazy callers last night on John's show, trying to put scripture with this. Let me tell you something. If you're trying to figure out how to make this about God and trying to wrap scripture around what happened on either side, you're full of shit. And where I come from, they would say you a lie and the truth ain't in you. God ain't on either side of it. He was not some kind of apostle prophet from God. And whoever shot him was not on assignment from God either.
No,
this is man's doing.
Not even remotely. And yes, I'm not sure what the right word is, but Charlie Kirk espoused beliefs that put guns above human life.
Yes, he did. And speaking of that, I want to play his own words on that matter.
Okay, yeah, you got a clip of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna play his own words and then we're gonna talk about it on the other side. And before I play this, I want to say I'm not justifying him getting shot. I'm gonna play his own words for those who would like to, and Charlie Kirk was one of them, say that people getting shot as a result of gun violence is just collateral damage we just have to deal with because we are not giving up our Second Amendment right. And that's just something we're going to have to tolerate until it's you. Then vengeance is the Lord's, and the government is going to go hunting down people who had nothing to do with this. And the white Aryan nation folks are going to go terrorizing HBCUs and on and on and on and on till it's y'all.
Right.
Till it's y'all. So I wanna show you, and these are his words. We're playing his own words.
You got the clip, D? Are you trying to find the clip?
Oh, I thought it was playing. It's not playing?
No, it's not showing up for me. It might be showing up for our viewers.
But I'm sorry. Okay. I'm watching it thinking everybody's to edit that out.
And we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price. Wow. And that is part of liberty. Wow. Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. That's a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. Wow. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. Right. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, yes, by having more armed guards in the schools.
Oh my God.
We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. Sure. So then how do you reduce? Very simple. People say, oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings? I don't know. How did we stop shootings at baseball games?
Okay.
Wow.
What did he say? What did he say?
Well, first there was a false equivalence between cars and guns. And what I mean by that is that he is equating something that is demonstrably useful, transportation, with something that really, for the vast majority of people in this world, there's no use for, and an automobile is a tool, is to get from point A to point B. The purpose of a gun is to kill people or things. And most people no longer hunt. So therefore, this is a wild false equivalence fallacy. And Charlie Kirk was well known for
the false equivalence,
fallacious arguments.
Yeah, I got another one. But before I play that one, notice that he said that last part is the most significant part.
Yeah.
It's worth it for the Second Amendment right. That's a false equivalency. But since you made it, was your life worth it?
Right. And
for the right to be able to carry that kind of gun, for the right to be able to shoot somebody for 200 yards away, was your life worth it? I don't think it was. But no. I promise you, if I got shot in the public and I was taken away from my husband and my children the other day, he would say my life being gone was worth it. But they don't think his life being gone is worth it. But I promise you, Dillon, if I got shot, my life, I would have been worth it.
Yeah. And the other thing is, well, two things. One, God didn't give us rights to own firearms. That is a ridiculous assertion. Jesus, because Charlie Kirk said he was a Christian, he ignored all of the teachings of Jesus, but Jesus disarmed Peter when they came for Jesus before the crucifixion, and Peter cut that dude's ear off, and Jesus said, "Enough of this." And Tertullian said, Jesus, in disarming Peter, disarmed every soldier. The other thing is that I guarantee you that when Charlie Kirk sat on that stage and so smugly dismissed all of the lives lost to gun violence and school shootings, that he had no conception that he would ever be a target because he's white and rich and insulated.
Think about the bullshit that came out of his mouth about what would stop that kind of violence. Fathers in the homes.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you saying? The people
that's a racist dog whistle.
You already know. Because the people who commit these mass shootings usually come from two-parent homes.
Right.
These crazy ass, lonely ass Republican white boys come from two-parent homes.
And they always talk about how in the black community, there's fatherlessness in the home, and that leads to crime and all this other nonsense. It's a racist dog whistle.
Who is he talking about? You know, when you say that's and armed guards at the school. That didn't help the folks down in Uvalde.
Right. There was all kinds of good guys with guns outside that school that did not go into that school.
Who's that clown that said the answer to a man with a gun is another somebody with a gun? That didn't help tell that to the kids that's in Uvalde. That didn't help. They're gone.
Yeah.
More guns doesn't help the problem of gun violence. That's stupid.
And arming teachers is about the most idiotic thing that you could do. I am friends with multiple teachers. They got way more on their plate already to deal with classroom sizes and budget cuts and behavioral issues and mental health issues and stress and all kinds of things.
The school where the teachers would be armed.
And
first of all, you not
who's
gonna
training them?
that your life wasn't a threat and you had to shoot my son, but you didn't have to shoot. You didn't have to shoot Brian over there, but you had to shoot. You had to shoot Daquan. Fuck y'all. No, I'm not doing that. And these teachers can go 5150 just like the next person and shoot up their whole class, depending on what kind of day they fucking having. No.
Right? Yeah, it's such a wildly irresponsible and utterly illogical and poorly thought out argument. But that was Charlie Kirk's trademark. Gish galloping.
And I'm not, I mean, he's not finna get a free pass over here. If you go over to Fox News, you let Trump tell you, oh, he was an upstanding Christian and he was full of shit. And if he was breathing today, he'd be full of shit today. Does that mean that I want him to be dead by assassination? Hell to the no.
No, of course not.
That's wrong. And when have we, first it went from counseling people to assassinating people. What the fuck happened to just turning the goddamn channel? You don't have to consume the bullshit that they're putting out there. You don't have to follow them. You don't have to rage, tweet, and respond. You could act like they don't fucking exist, like they act like you don't fucking exist. What is it with people? You know what I'm saying? What is it? And he's not getting a free pass. Some people are upset because we are saying, well, you can't condone violence no matter how it comes. And they're like, well, he said it was all right and he did it. And we'll play that video that we just played and somebody will say, well, he deserved what he got. No, nobody deserves to go out like that.
No.
You're either a child of the Most High who follows Christ or you're not. You can't have that bullshit coming out of both sides of your raggedy ass mouth. Somebody tried that on John Fugazing's show last night. This heifer from wherever she was calling from tried to use the scripture, it's better to tie a millstone around your neck and something, and somebody had to do so. If you don't get all the way the fuck out of my face with that shit. Don't dare try to put scriptures on this.
Yeah,
God
Jesus
didn't have
was
shit to do with that happened to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. Jesus was famously against retributive violence, famously against even self-defense, which I have. I'm not against self-defense. I don't think I could stand there and just let somebody beat the fuck out of me, or somebody else that I was watching. But Jesus was, and that's the story of Jesus. So taking the millstone from Luke 17, I think it is, out of context. No.
Not only that,
absolutely not.
How are you going to say God has something to do with something that violates divine law and secular law?
Right.
The scripture say, "Thou shalt not kill." And then it says, "Obey the laws of the land." And then you gonna come on and say some bullshit about God did this and God did. If you don't get the fuck out of here with that shit, God didn't have anything to do with that. Okay, that was a lunatic being a lunatic.
Yeah.
On the other hand, what we're not gonna do, just because that atrocity happened to him, we're not going to turn him into a martyr or turn him into a some kind of angel saint, because he wasn't. He was not.
Just like video. When James Dobson died recently. He died an old man, and people were like, "Respect the dead." I'm using his words. Somebody today on social media harped at one of my friends for quoting Charlie Kirk, and he said, "Oh, you're doing a really good job. You're so with all your hate," and he misused your.
And what would these people say if something happened to the previous president, previous vice president, or the president before that? I promise you, what they wouldn't be online doing is posting a lot of love, thoughts, and prayers.
Right.
I guarantee you that. They'd probably be somewhere talking about God was the vengeance of the Lord or some bullshit. So
Well,
Anyway, here's another video. This is how Charlie Kirk rolls. We not whitewashing this
nope.
motherfucker. I can't stand the motherfucker. That doesn't mean that I think he should be assassinated. But I'm gonna keep it all the way real. I shed not one tear. I shed the tear for him that he would have shed for me if it happened to me. Zero. Now I'm gonna keep it a whole buck. Now this is him speaking some stuff that he has said.
I love content where I have to put very little effort into it. This person says, "What has Charlie Kirk said that is racist?" I don't even have to tell you. All I got to do is roll the footage.
Black Americans are about 13 to 14% of the population.
Yes,
about half of all prisoners are black.
Exactly.
So blacks commit more crimes than whites do. They commit more murders. They commit more arsons. They commit more kidnappings. For example, blacks are 13% of the population, and they commit 58% of all the murders.
Okay, let's talk about it. These are obviously racist claims, but I will respond to them as if Charlie Kirk were a reasonable person.
Black Americans are about 13 to 14% of the population.
Yes,
about half of all prisoners.
American population is black. That's according to the U.S. government. But it makes you wonder why Charlie feels the need to add an additional 12% to the black prison population. Could it be because his bigoted talking points only work if he exaggerates? If Charlie were actually looking for the race that makes up half the prison population in the U.S., he'd look no further than white people at 57%.
So blacks commit more crimes than whites do.
Wrong. The word "so" is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
So blacks commit more crimes.
He's saying "so" as in therefore, as in one could conclude, but Charlie knows he's lying. Even if he hadn't just lied about the black prison population, Charlie is smart enough to know that correlation does not equal causation, but he's hoping that you don't know that. So he deploys the word "so" to make you think he's coming to an obvious conclusion.
So blacks
Instead, he's making an illogical, racist leap. Charlie knows that we don't have usable data about who commits crimes. It's impossible to have that data since so many crimes go both unreported and or unsolved. Charlie knows that we only have data about arrests and convictions. I'll come back to that data in a moment. What's painfully obvious is that Charlie Kirk isn't interested in understanding the statistics he so carelessly misquotes. He's interested in making bad faith arguments, something that becomes even more obvious in his next point.
blacks are 13% of the population, and they commit 58% of all the murders.
Wrong again, and loud this time. If Charlie were interested in honesty, he would have mentioned the other 1350 statistic. Yes, black people are about 13% of the population, but make up 53% of all criminal exonerations. In fact, black people make up 55% of all murder exonerations. Specific black people are more likely than any other group in this country to be convicted of crimes they did not commit. And then people like you have the nerve to parade these stats around as though they prove something. The reality is that you probably know these stats, but you leave them out on purpose because to bring that stat into this conversation would make some people think. And that's the last thing a person like you wants.
Black Americans are about 13 to 14%.
All right. That's some of his work. And that's just some of his work. What you tell me, Dillon, what has he said about black women?
Oh, well, according to Charlie Kirk, black women don't have the brain processing capacity to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
That is what I believe that he is referring to is something called scientific racism. It's the kind of thing that Jordan Peterson is a fan of and Stephen Molyneux is a fan of. So for anybody that's interested in having to pour bleach on their eyeballs, go listen to Jordan Peterson and Stephen Molyneux talk about how they were so distressed to learn that there's a biological component to racism and that black people are they're just biologically predisposed to be criminals and unintelligent. And this is what we call in Texas horse shit. It is not true. Charlie Kirk just hated black people. That did not stop him from reaching out to marginalized communities of some young black men. I saw a post from somebody who was really tore up about the murder of Charlie Kirk who happened to be a young black Republican. And I can't make that make sense in my head, other than that Charlie Kirk provided some kind of community for this young person in the way that he does with building outrage for white men. And somehow this young man who was black thought that he was going to be a part of this big movement when he thought.
But white supremacy is a powerful drug.
It is. And you cannot say things like, walking onto an airplane, Charlie Kirk said, if I see a black pilot, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Yep.
Motherfucker, do you know how much work goes into becoming a commercial airline pilot?
Oh no, it's just all affirmative action. That's the only reason the person is sitting
if the pilot's in that seat,
seat,
there's a 99% chance that they belong there, because it's hard to become a commercial airline pilot.
Yeah.
And
he said about the black women, they do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken seriously, and claimed that Joy Reid, Michelle Obama, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Sheila Jackson Lee, all of them are just products of affirmative action. That's how they got there.
Yeah, and DEI
Ketanji Brown Jackson. No, she didn't. It isn't her law degrees. It isn't how many years she's been on the bench outside of the Supreme Court. It's nothing to do with that. It's just she just had this magical affirmative action card that just gets you to the highest judicial seat in the whole country. It's just magic. This is this man that they're trying to turn into an angel after his death.
Right. And I saw Sean Foyt. Sean Foyt said yesterday on social media that he was a martyr, and that he quoted Jesus saying, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And isn't that Matthew 25:31-46? Let me just double check, because if you look at that passage, you would see that everything Charlie Kirk advocated for was the opposite of what Jesus was saying. No, that's not the passage.
Well,
but anyway,
this is the thing. We cannot afford, at least I can't. I don't have the capacity to be fake about this shit. It's too much fucking going on. Two things could be true. I mean, these days, 2, 3, 4, 5 motherfucking things could be true. But certainly 2 things could be true. It can be true that this was a motherfucking prick. That could be true.
Mm-hmm.
He could kick rocks with the business in his forehead, as far as I'm concerned. But it could also be true that him being taken out of this world the way that he was taken out of this world was tragic, was an atrocity, was wrong, was evil, was wicked, and was illegal.
Right.
Those 2 things can be true. And you can say them at the same time.
Right.
And not be disingenuous. Because I'm not going to make that man into something he wasn't. He didn't give a good goddamn about my black ass. And I don't give a fuck about him. But let me tell you what I do care about. I care about law and order in the United States. I care about free speech. And just like I have a right to say I don't give a fuck about Charlie Kirk, living or dead, he has a right to say black women don't have the capacity to think. And that every black woman, no matter her education level, no matter how long she's worked, no matter what her resume says, no matter how advanced she is in her expertise, her field of expertise, that the only reason she's gotten anywhere in the earth is either she slept her way there or she punched her magical Negro affirmative action card. He can say that.
Right. And here's the thing. Charlie Kirk was not a champion of free speech. And we know this because he created, through Turning Point USA, a watch list of professors in the United States and put them on the list, and his army of MAGA minions targeted these professors. Why?
Mhm.
Because they were saying things that Charlie Kirk and the MAGA movement didn't like. Woke things. He also apparently had a list for local level politicians. So to say that he was a champion of free speech and debate is spurious. It's not true. His debate tactics were, as we've seen, to show made up statistics, use fallacious style arguments, gish gallop, and then pretend that he was saying something profound and enlightened and whatnot. And if you
And
ever
that he was
watched
the
him,
authority on what he was saying.
oh yeah, and if you ever watched him with people that actually knew stuff, that had critical thinking skills and weren't low information voters, he would just get destroyed in those debates. But selective editing or whatever, he would probably post it as something that made him look good. And look, Charlie Kirk said that empathy was a new age concept that he hated. And here's the thing. Anthropologist Margaret Mead said that the way that they understood that civilization started was because they found the skeletal remains of an early human from 15,000 years ago that had a broken femur that had been repaired.
What?
Compassion and empathy allowed for that repair, because in the natural world, you break your leg, you dead. You become food. You become part of the food chain. But this skeletal remains showed that this human's community took care of them despite the fact that it made the rest of them vulnerable, because they wanted that person with the broken leg to survive. And political philosopher Hannah Arendt, who wrote about totalitarianism, said that one of the signs that you're descending into barbarism is lacking empathy. Now, the things that Charlie Kirk said, he advocated for children to watch public executions of his political enemies starting at the age of 12 so that they wouldn't commit crimes. And he left it, as Jeff Charlotte said in that report, really open about who these death penalty recipients should be, and even touted the lie again that they were targeting Donald Trump for doing constitutional things and stuff like that. So Charlie Kirk didn't have any empathy. I want to make sure that I don't lose my humanity by not having empathy, say, for his children. He had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. They are not responsible for the heinously awful shit that came out of his mouth and the movement that he created and the intention of creating a Christian nationalist hellscape, a white Christian nationalist hellscape, where rich people like him were in charge and everybody else either towed the line or goes to jail because he said we don't have enough prisoners in the United States. Look up how many people we incarcerate in this country. It is ridiculous. I would not be at all surprised to learn that he was somehow invested in the Geo Group. If you don't know who the Geo Group is, they are for mass incarceration because they run for-profit prisons. They are also behind some of the detention centers, otherwise known as concentration camps, for asylum seekers and migrants and other things.
So of course he wouldn't think we have enough prisoners, because every prisoner is dollars.
Right. So I don't know that he was invested in that, but I do know that the MAGA world is hugely invested in that. But we have to be careful, because I saw people gleeful yesterday. Do we shoot all the Christian nationalists? Where does it stop?
And is it, if it's okay for For them to be shot, it's okay for them to come shoot your ass too.
Right.
So that's the part where, some of those callers pissed me off yesterday because I'm like, it's not okay. And I don't
It's
care.
not
I
okay.
don't like the guy. I wouldn't like him if he was living. I don't like him now that he's dead. But that doesn't mean I want him assassinated. I don't have to follow him. I don't have to listen to his content. He don't know me. He don't even listen. He want to listen to my content. He ain't got to follow me. This is a free world. People could get on TV and say Black people are 13% of the population. They commit most of the crimes. It's a lie, but you can say what you want to say.
Right.
You can say that the immigrants are taking people's jobs. Last time I checked, ain't nary a Black nor a white person run into the fields to go pick no apples, pears, oranges, tomatoes,
Right.
or nothing else. They ain't breaking down the wall to go turn up the beds at the hotel. Some of them are going into the construction industry, but they ain't busting down the walls or going to construction and do that for what they're getting paid to do. They ain't taking nobody's jobs.
Right. And we have.
But you can say that if you want to.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can say these things, but there are repercussions sometimes for saying these things. But the repercussions should not be being executed. And
no,
some people were saying, well, now his voice is silenced. No, his message will be magnified because they're going to make him a martyr.
Magnified.
It's not.
This made it worse.
Bullets do not kill ideas. They kill people. We have to find a way. And I don't know the answer to this. I wish the fuck I did. I wish the Holy Spirit would just descend on me like a dove and tell me what to tell all the people. Because the answer is simple, but implementing is hard. Stop killing each other. But we can't get enough people on board with not killing each other or using violence as a tool. And the violence, I'm a student of history. I don't see a lot of evidence that political violence, just like using violence on your children with abuse, it might stop the behavior for a second, but the lasting damage is lasting damage, right? As I said last night on John's show, Nazism did not die because we won World War II. There are still Nazis in the world. And a lot of bullets and a lot of bombs were dropped to stop Hitler in his tracks. Mm-hmm. And we can debate whether or not that was right or wrong. But what it did not do, and what is not up for debate, is the fact that Nazis still fucking exist. And violence did not kill that ideology. How do we do it? Most Germans reject that ideology today. They told the truth about what the fuck happened. They shone the light on it, and now it is a crime to be a Holocaust denier in those parts of the world. It is a crime that they do not put up with that shit.
They don't tolerate it.
No. We have to tell the truth about who Charlie Kirk was, but I can still have empathy for his wife
and his children.
They may grow up to absolutely abhor what he stood for. They may
grow up to completely fall in line with it. Either way, they deserve to grow up with their father.
Exactly. And I saw somebody that said yesterday that his wife, I do not know her name, knew what she married. And that is absolutely true. She probably knew exactly who he was, because when people tell you who they are, you should believe them. And Charlie Kirk told us over and over and over and over and over and ad infinitum, because he had a major platform about who he was. And I don't know how he got there. Stephen Miller seems to have popped out of the womb evil. Right?
He does.
I mean, I don't know if that's a thing, but he sure seems to. I don't know what Charlie's first 18 years of life looked like, but he was already a conservative. But he, as Jeff Charlotte showed, and I highly recommend that people go watch the Democracy Now! Segment with Jeff Charlotte. It's about 15, 20 minutes long. Said that he he started off kind of neutral on LGBTQ issues, but then, and on certain other issues, but then he got more and more and more extreme. Was it the
The
money?
red
Was it the
pill.
fame? Was it the power? Was it the red pill? Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? You know, but the thing is, it is what it is, and he was what he was. But we will keep saying that he didn't deserve to die the way he died.
Right.
And
Absolutely
there's
not.
no justification for that. One of the things that I hate, but that you can't do anything about, is them making him into a martyr. When I think of historical martyrs, narcissistic, misogynist, homophobic, xenophobic assholes is not what comes to mind.
No.
But that's what we're at, where this man is going to be posthumously awarded, which you called it out, the Presidential Medal of Honor. Did Trump think that the senator and her husband deserved that? The ones who were shot a couple months ago, they were assassinated. Did they deserve that too? I guess not.
I don't think even that Trump had
I
the
don't know
flags
if
flying
he did.
half staff for that.
No, I don't think he did. If he did, it wasn't his suggestion. It was probably somebody else who was like, it'll be politically correct if we do this.
Right. But I don't think that that's what happened.
No. Because the bottom line is, if you don't support Trump and what he's doing, he doesn't give a fuck about you.
No, and Donald Trump,
some Democrats
are absolutely disposable to him.
All of them, even the ones that are on his side. Yeah. Some Democrat could die the same way Charlie Kirk died today, tomorrow, and I promise you, that person is not going to be a martyr. That person is not going to get an honorary anything. That person is not going to get a military burial. They're talking about giving Bobbitt, the one who stormed the Capitol and got shot.
Right. Her family got $5 million.
Yeah, and you're getting paid for what? I don't know what you're getting paid for. I promise if she was black, she wouldn't have got paid.
And Trump is already talking about how we're going to go after all of those responsible. And Chris Rufo, y'all might remember him from a past episode. He is a stochastic terrorist who works for the Manhattan Institute, and he was talking about how we have to go after all these radical leftists. So he's talking about people like me.
What radical leftists? All what? It was one person with one gun with one bullet that killed Charlie Kirk. Just like it was one person with one gun with several bullets that killed the kids the other day. And one person with one gun with several bullets that killed the kids some days before that. And one lunatic who killed the senator and his wife. And before it, what do you mean? This is not a left-wing movement against anything, just like it wasn't a right-wing movement against anything a couple months ago. With these people, it's always the fake outrage. It gets me. It gets me. Where the fuck was all this a couple months ago when two Democratic senators' families almost got assassinated? He attempted assassinating one and he wounded the other couple. Where was all that? Was that a right-wing conspiracy? No, that wasn't. That was just an anomaly, one-off. But this is a left-wing movement against who? Donald Trump? Fuck Donald Trump. This is one lunatic with one gun and one bullet that took out a target and didn't kill anybody else in the crowd. He didn't come spray the whole motherfucking crowd on some ideological political bullshit.
Right.
For that one reason, it might be a Democrat.
Well, Chris Rufo is well known for lying intentionally to control the narrative. And that's what he's doing. He's painting people like us as radical leftists who, because we push back in whatever way that we do, typically non-violently, typically with truth-telling, etc., that we are the enemy. This is stochastic terrorism. This is why I felt very similarly to what I felt on January 6th, because marginalized communities are already targets before Charlie Kirk got killed. The history of racism in this country is long and well documented.
And they always got to find a scapegoat. And it's always going to be somebody brown or somebody marginalized. Or
somebody queer, somebody brown, somebody trans, what have you. And that is why we have to tell the truth. Now, today, I wrote a piece on my blog, and I told exactly who Charlie Kirk was. And then I posted that link on Turning Point USA's Facebook page. Now, that might have been stupid on my part, because these are the same people that were going after professors for saying woke nonsense. But it's my duty to tell the truth. It's my duty to push back on this stuff. And as a white male, I am not targeted as a white male. But as a person who has a disability, I could become targeted. As a person who is vocal about this stuff, I could become targeted. But I'm not targeted just for walking down the street being a tall white dude who is ridiculously handsome and charismatic and wonderful in every way. No. But if they knew if they knew that I follow the Jesus parts as best I can, at least the Christian ethics part, then I'm a target for these people.
Yeah.
And you're a target because you came out looking the way you do. And everybody else that has melanated skin is clearly a target. And that's why we have to tell the truth. And as we start to wrap this up, I want to, for our word on the street tonight, I want to read a quote from public theologian Lisa Sharon Harper, who was on the show quite a while ago when we first started doing the show. She's an African-American public theologian, and she had this to say in the aftermath of the execution of Charlie Kirk yesterday. Lisa Sharon Harper, I highly recommend that you look her up. She wrote the foreword to The Unchristian Truth about white Christian nationalism, the book that Desimber and I both contributed to chapter 2. She said this: Charlie Kirk was not my enemy. His ideas were my enemy. Charlie Kirk was a fellow human being made in the image of God. An image of God was killed today in the same way that more than 100,000 images of God have been obliterated in Gaza. Our nation is sick beyond measure right now. I don't say this because Kirk was killed. Rather, it is clear to me Kirk was killed because we have normalized an ethic of genocide and erasure in our politics. My prayers go out to Charlie Kirk's wife and children. May they be held close by Creator. And may the rest of us, especially people who claim faith, ask this critical questions of our own hearts. Do we actually value the image of God on earth?
That's good. That's good.
And I couldn't agree more, while simultaneously telling the truth about who he was and who he chose on purpose to be.
That's right.
Which evinced no evidence that he knew anything about Jesus, whatever scriptures he could quote.
There it is. The truth and the truth.
The truth and the truth.
The truth and the truth, right here on the God Squad. Listen, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. We make our apologies if you are looking for our fundamentalist fuckwitty or our what the fuck is in the news or our this motherfucker. Not today. It's too much going on, too much to digest, too much to get off our chest. Hopefully that's all right with y'all. But if it ain't, you can catch us next week. We'll see what we can do about that. Thank you for tuning in tonight, Tracy Allen, Beth, and we got a new listener / viewer, Christiana Borak, the crazy Quaker. Welcome. Hey girl, hey. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll be back here next week, hopefully, on a lighter note. We don't know what's going on in these United States. We don't know. We'll see what's happening next week. But until then, we'll catch us next week and keep this whole country in prayer. Prayer is what you do. If prayer isn't what you do, keep this country in your thoughts and send good energy because we need it everywhere. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. Like, subscribe, and share, everybody. Check out my blog post. We must not repay evil with evil. It is about this topic. Peace be with you.
All right, y'all. Good night.